Hi, welcome to the Indie Wine Podcast. My name is Matt Wood, and this is episode 99. I sat down with Ben Diaz from Volta Wines the other day. We had a great casual conversation about making wines from Spanish varieties in Sonoma Valley. We also talked about how we got started, making lots of Pinot Noir, hunting down the varieties he's looking for like Palomino and Gadeo, and making 3-year barrel-aged rosé. A reminder that I have a Patreon at patreon.com/IndieWinePodcast. Link is in the show notes too. If you're enjoying the podcast, any amount to help me keep telling wine stories ad-free and available for everyone is appreciated. It's all run independently, much like the producers I talk with. Telling a friend or sharing on social media are great ways to help out too. Here we go.
This is something new.
Palomino.
So this is kind of the future, part of the future of Volta. Volta, I guess I can go back to like what inspired me to make Volta's Spanish wines.
I'd love to hear like
varieties.
what your kind of, where your interest in wine came from and everything too.
Yeah. So Volta in general and just like Spanish varieties kind of stuck out to me. Just taking a class at the Santa Rosa Junior College. There was a tasting class called Wines of Spain. I'd tasted Rioja. I'd had some Albariños from Spain throughout my career, but I hadn't really like dove into the wine world of Spain totally. So in that exposure in that classroom, I found some varieties that I really found very inspiring. Palomino being one of them, and then just kind of like following the history of Palomino and where it's grown. Really just wanted to find multiple different expressions of it. Sherry is a really incredible dessert wine, and stuff that's grown on the Canary Islands are also very thoughtful and elegant as just like a still white wine. And so for me, I really wanted to do a still white wine. It captures a lot of that salinity, super salty, really fresh. So this is an old vineyard grown out in Oakley. This is one of the Klein vineyards, farmed by Alan Lucchese, and own rooted, dry farmed. A few people have made wines from this place, the Klein family included. But really I had a bottle from Christina Rasmussen, who has Little Wine. Funny enough, I mean, we were talking about this before we started recording, but I met her when I was collecting the budwood for the Mencia vineyard here.
Nice.
So that was kind of my connection there. But she made a little bit of this wine, this vineyard, in 2019. And this year when I decided to make Palomino, it's not really an easy grape to find in California, which is...
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because, I don't know, I'm interested to know your thoughts, but...
I mean, that's kind of the area where it is found, though, at least in part, is Contra Costa County, right along the San Joaquin River and the delta there, getting those old vine vineyards.
And I think just people aren't really putting it in the ground anymore, and so what is left is old vine plantings. So I'd been speaking to a woman in Fresno for a bit, and she had some Palomino. This fruit popped up on Wine Business, and I reached out, and they were able to accommodate, fortunately, Alan over at Big Break Vineyard. And very happy that this worked out. Saved me a trip to Fresno. Although I would be interested in getting access to that fruit in Fresno at some point. It's biodynamically farmed, and really have no idea what to expect from it out there. But just logistically, it was going to be difficult for me to make that fruit this year. And this kind of just checked all the boxes: old vine, own rooted, dry farmed, and a Bay Area vineyard. So
is it just interplanted somewhat randomly throughout the Big Break Vineyard?
No, this one there's a block.
There is, okay.
There's a pretty solid block, and it's actually kind of in the sweet spot of this vineyard. It's, it's sand dunes.
Yeah.
So like there's not much geological variation in this vineyard. But where the Palomino is located specifically, there is a tiny bit of a ridge.
Okay.
And so for me, in my experience, having slight variation in geological and soil topography really is what kind of creates a little bit more complexity in the wine. I'm not looking for extremely steep hillsides, but it's nice to have a little bit of variation. And so, yeah, there is a block and it covers, I'd say maybe 3 to 4 acres is how large the block is.
Oh, wow.
And they're just like
Sizable.
little bushes, little bush vines. There's an oak tree in the middle of it. It's very picturesque. The not so picturesque element of it is the Amazon warehouse that kind of blocks your view of the bay.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of the history of that place. And so it was a really interesting place to go. It feels like you're sampling at the beach.
Yeah.
It's truly sand. Were it not for some of the vagrants that were hanging out in the vineyard, I'd probably be out there with flip-flops on. And yeah, it was nice though. It was a fun spot to be sampling, and really fortunate to have made a wine from this place, and hopefully get to keep doing it too.
Yeah, it's awesome kind of every year that the vineyards out there exist, because really like suburban intrusion is really kind of the story of that. And every time I drive through there, I mean, you see like for sale signs consistently on vineyards out there. So props to the clients for keeping the vineyard in the ground and, producing wines from it, because there's a lot of them that disappeared. And like every year you drive through there and there's less vineyards.
Yeah. And it's a pretty beautiful space with the trains and the history of the grapes being sent back east from that space. And there's some really incredible fruit that comes out of there. I'd never really been exposed to it aside from trying some of Tegan's wines at Sandlands. When we get access to the Klein wines as well. They're old, I think it's their ancient vine wine that they call it. And a lot of the bedrock wines as well.
Yeah.
Some other incredible pioneers of old vines. It's nice that they've been able to keep a lot of those vineyards going. And it is unfortunate to see those for sale signs and vineyards go unpruned. It's exciting to see that as someone that's starting to get going, but it's also terrifying for the industry, as we know at this point is not in the best situation. But there's opportunity out there. Hopefully we can all make it through it.
Yeah.
And hopefully a lot of these vineyards stay in the ground, especially these historical ones too, that have been so like well taken care of for coming up on 100 years. It would be a shame to lose those, and hopefully we can keep those going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just very excited to get some access to a little bit this year.
It's great. I love the acidity on it. It's so bright. Still like textured and everything though.
Yeah. So just like, I guess before I go into how I made this wine, I'll kind of give you a little explanation of where I'm from.
Yeah.
And kind of just how I got into wine in general.
Sure thing.
I originally am from Southern California, so Carlsbad. Didn't really grow up with wine. Didn't really grow up with like the highest of culinary experiences or wine experiences either. Classic Southern California surfing, beach lifeguard. But going after high school, kind of decided like I needed to get out and be exposed to more culture than just Southern California surf culture. I love it down there, and I love going home, and I love visiting family.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to see more, and
Okay.
didn't really have any place in mind. But San Francisco is where I ended up. I knew I wanted to be in a city, and that place checked the boxes of there's waves.
Yeah.
That was a super important part for me, was
Okay.
surfing.
Yeah.
And still is. Although now I'm surfing a lot less up here. Um, anyways, that's how I ended up in San
Yeah.
Francisco. Come around the 21st birthday, I was like, I need to find a job, and I wanted to work in a bar. I wanted to have access to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
There was kind of a one-track mind at that point. I was like, all right, well, this is expensive. How can I like bring the price down and also just like have access to it? Um, the priorities were not in the right order at that point. But the only place that I really found a job was at a wine bar in
Okay.
Jackson Square, kind of on the
Oh.
edge of North Beach and the financial district. It's like
Yeah.
this sweet little spot. We were right across the street from Quince and Catonia, right there. The wine bar is called Barrique.
Mm-hmm.
They they were owned by the Weiss family,
Okay.
who is from Santa Rosa. They are incredible. That whole family was fully involved in multiple facets of the industry. Matt was the owner, and he hired me on. I think he was just like, well, this kid's probably just in it for the beer money. And I was. They weren't wrong about that. But so they hired me on. His sister, Sarah, was the GM there. And she also knew I was there for the beer money. But she's like, if you're going to be here, like, you're going to have to learn about wine. And so, first day, very slow, sat me down at the front window. There was no one else in there. And she's like, you're going to go dress the window with a nice cold glass of rosé.
Yeah.
Put the 21-year-old up front with a glass of rosé. But it was an incredible experience there. It ended up being like a very approachable way to enter the wine industry. I think for me, and just any of the uninformed, like the wine industry seems very nose up in the air.
Right.
And entering it from the service side of things was really approachable. Not quite like dirty or grimy, but just a little bit more technical, and you figured out how to communicate things to people. And so I entered it through that wine bar and learned about California wine growing regions there. Considered possibly becoming a somm, but ultimately decided that like I'm going to school for a degree. This whole time I'm going to San Francisco State for an animation degree.
Oh, nice.
Which is the perfect way to get started into the wine industry too. But so the whole time I was like, well, I should try to pursue my animation degree. I tried. I did. I had a couple internships lined up. One of them, unfortunately, like last minute, they ended up closing the Northern California branch. That was to go be at DreamWorks in Redwood City, and had this really fun job lined up. And unfortunately, I was the least unfortunate of the scenario. People got laid off and stuff in that situation. Right. But so it left me like open-ended in terms of what I was going to do next. Working at the wine bar, the family was like, well, you should try a wine harvest. And so went to go work for the other brother in that family, Will Weiss. That was in 2015 at the James McPhail's Custom Crush in Healdsburg. They call it Grape Wagon. And that was just a fun 2015 was a very interesting year. It's peak of the drought. Yeah. Yields were low. Concentration was high. The other interns was working with they'd both worked at Costa Brown. They were used to very intense harvests, and they were like, this is the easiest harvest in the world. And I felt the exact same way.
Okay.
So we spent a lot of time back at their house on West Side, drinking cool wines, cooking food, shooting guns, throwing axes, shooting bow and arrows. It was kind of like the most unrealistic introduction to like what the wine world is.
Right, it's like a weird summer camp.
Yeah, seriously. But it was fun. Like we had a bunch of parties and kind of sealed the deal for me to want to do it again. And so the following year, I ended up following their recommendations and going to do like a real solidly massive harvest.
Okay.
Not totally massive, but in terms of like work and comparison, it was like much longer days. And that was also at Costa Brown too.
Okay.
So I spent 4 years there at Costa Brown. The first year, just as an intern, spent a lot of time on the forklift, being the barrel driver, and kind of just took all the opportunity I could. You know, if you get good at driving forklifts, you can get your job done really quickly and expose yourself to all other elements of the winemaking process. Yes. Or at least that's kind of the way I approached it. Not like I was driving around like a maniac, but
just getting it done so you could check out the other parts of the process.
Exactly.
Stuck on it all day.
Yeah, and I love Tetris.
Okay.
So I would have that song playing in my head, aside from the hip hop and metal music that was blasting over the speakers. But I would definitely, it was really fun and made for a very exciting harvest, especially at Costa Brown, because there's so many barrels.
Yeah.
And something that I hadn't really learned much about. So getting barrel work done and exposing myself to all the various types of fermentation methods that we were doing there.
Was there anything that kind of like blew your mind at the time?
At that point, it was the diversity of fermentations.
Okay.
I think at that point there was a new winemaker. Nico Cueva had taken over as the winemaker that year, and there was a lot of, I wouldn't say changes, but we were playing with things, and mostly whole cluster fermentation vessels, concrete, wood, stainless steel, closed tops, open tops. These were ferments in the 1 ton to 8 ton range. So lots of variation. And we crushed about 800 tons in total that year of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And it doesn't make sense to make wine the way that they do and the way that we were doing it there. But for the quality and for the building of complexity and just kind of getting to know so many vineyards, it's super important to do that. I think they have like at that point they had maybe like 10 different Pinot Noir SKUs for single vineyards, which looking back at that is kind of crazy. And Chardonnay has also grown as well. So that I think just figuring out how to handle all those different vineyards and that they should be treated differently was maybe the most eye-opening experience there. There's not one recipe for a certain winemaking style for a certain vineyard. There was a lot of tweaking that happened. And so I think exposing myself to that over those 3-4 years that I was there, it's hard not to want to do harvest hopping, especially when you're like, it's the slow season and it's January, February, and you're still just in a cold cellar topping away. And you see all of your peers that were just having like an incredible time starting their Southern Hemisphere harvest. It's summer for them again.
Right.
And you've got like multiple layers on, but it is important to see that. It's another side of, if you're going to continue in this industry, it's important. And
important to know that the work's continuing like year round.
Yeah.
It doesn't end after October.
Exactly. And the wines change. Like to actually see what that wine tastes like after you press it and barrel it down, and then try it again after 4 months of élevage, and then 8 months, and then try it again the next year. Depending on if we were over vintaging or bottling the following year.
Mm-hmm.
But it was nice. And I loved every experience I had there. And we had a really nice core team at that point too. It was teamwork has been something that's very important to kind of my entire professional career.
Okay.
Not just in wine, but just in general. I mean, it's more fun with people, and I find myself searching for more community now as an independent producer. Hence, working with Tom has been incredible. And some of my other friends, right now I'm crushing out of Jolie Lade, and there's some really talented winemakers also making wine there too. So I'm constantly bouncing ideas off of them, and I don't know if they're tired of it or not, but I hope not. I think it's important to have those conversations. And so being at Costa Brown at that point with an incredible core who I'm still very close with, all those people to this day. So it was awesome there. And I know that there's been maybe a few Costa Brown alumni on your podcast as well. It's a little bit of a fraternity there, but as most large wineries are, I think, the ones that we hear about that have these incredible alumni coming out of them. So,
it must have been amazing to see so many Pinot fermentations and how different they could be. I mean, you said 10 SKUs, or 10 single vineyard
and that might
SKUs,
be,
but there must have been
might be more than that too. I might be underselling
that. I'm sure there were a bunch of other vineyards that went into more of the AVA blends and things like that. Also, that didn't get the single vineyard SKU. So with a serious amount of Pinot Noir.
The other element too that I kind of forget about sometimes is like those were very transitional moments for that winery in general, and there were winemaking consultants that came in there that were not there to tell anyone how to make wine, but to really assist in some sort of a transition like that. And for whatever it's worth, like you take the advice or you don't take the advice, especially with how that consulting was happening. And regardless, the advice was valuable. So taking that with me and forward has been super important. And I know for my coworkers there, they all did the same. A lot of that I've heard echoed throughout the years from other very talented winemakers and viticulturists. And it's important to not get down deep in a rabbit hole of like, this is how it has to happen. And so working with those consultants, it was nice to have perspective of like, keep the bigger picture into perspective, and don't keep it pleasurable. Keep wine interesting. Keep your customers happy. And for me, and I want wines to be delicious and chuggable and thoughtful, but not overly serious. Okay. Not to say that's the only way wine should be, but it's important. Like, people want to enjoy wine.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun moment to be at that place. That's a winery that's kind of changed hands a few times. Right. So it's, if anything, it's used to is changes. So embracing change is very important for anyone. Remaining open. When someone tells you your label looks weird, you got to change it. No matter how,
sounds kind of personal.
Yeah, no one said that to me, but okay. I mean, if someone, I mean, you just have to be open and willing to change and listen to people, because even if it's something that you're attached to, I mean, I made my first labels are with packaging tape, and it looks great. It feels cool. It hit the wallet the right way. But everything's hand applied.
Yeah.
And people would like for me to keep the labels that way just because they like the way they look, but my hands are getting tired. um,
So where'd you kind of move on to? 4 years at Costa Brown, and then where'd your kind of career take you?
yeah. So after Costa Brown sold again one more time to the Duckhorn family. Um, they were also a really incredible family to work for. I have nothing bad to say about Duckhorn. Really beautiful company to work for. They took care of their employees very well.
That's awesome.
I was just at a point in my career where I felt like I'd kind of maxed out what I could take from Costa Brown at that moment. There was no growth for me anywhere else. I was kind of like the goldfish that had outgrown its tank, and I had a lot of really amazing experience there with filtration. They had a bottling line that I ended up managing, and doing all the maintenance. It was the bottling line tech, and I was the barrel driver. There was everything that I could do there, and I needed to find something else. I also was tired of being inside, and I really wanted to get in the vineyard. So I took some time off at the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 with every intention. I booked a trip to France, Portugal, and Spain for February of 2020, and didn't have a job lined up. I just knew, like, oh, I'll come back and I'll get a job. No problem. On the way back, though, at the end of February, well, that trip was pivotal. I was exposed to some really beautiful wines and some really incredible natural wines of the area. And, I don't think natural wine was being thrown around quite so carelessly at that point. At least I hadn't been hearing it. A lot of these wines that I'd had that were particularly inspiring, especially from Italy, France, and Portugal, that were really thoughtful and maybe a little bit faulted. No one was saying they were natural wines. They were just like, here's this wine, try it. And those were the boxes that were checking for me. So visiting a producer in Burgundy, the Brett brothers, are in La Souffrandière. It was beautiful. I mean, just spending any amount of time in a French hillside is really inspiring, and kind of figured, why shouldn't that be accessible for me or for other people in California? And if I'm having that same thought, other people must have had the same thought. And so I wanted to come back and find someone like-minded and that needed to hire somebody. So I at least had like a light to go to at this point. I knew that I wanted to be outside. I'd considered just being a vit tech. But after this trip, was kind of hoping to tie it all together. So hopefully I could find a vineyard job with a little bit of cellar. Kind of just looking for that like assistant winemaker or just even cellar worker position that allowed me to be in the vineyard and in the cellar as well, and have that back and forth, which isn't the most common job, but it's not uncommon either. On my return, I was fortunate. I was able to get a few intern or interviews lined up. But 2 weeks later, everything shut down. So a lot of the emails that I started to get returns were like, we're sorry, like, we're going to have to cancel the interview. we don't know if we're actually able to keep most of our staff right now. We don't know how long this is going to last. So lockdown, a couple months go by, and I got a call from my old boss at Costa Brown, Nico, who had not been working there, but he had a new opportunity that he was starting in Napa called Haynes Vineyard. So that was in May of 2020 that I started working at Haynes Vineyard for the 2020 harvest, and we had a lot of work to get done. And the main issue we had that year was getting equipment out of port. So we were fortunately able to able to get everything ordered and into America, but it was just not able to clear port. And
all the winery equipment?
All the winery equipment.
Okay.
So most of the tanks, we didn't do a lot of large fermentations. Our largest fermentations were 2.8 tons.
Okay.
Insulated tanks, though. We didn't want to have temperature variation. We didn't want to have massive dramatic swings. We wanted to have healthy ferments without massive scale. But they just didn't clear port that year. Yeah. And it kind of, as that year went, didn't really work out for a lot of people. We ended up making more wine than most. We were in Coombsville, so we had some of the oldest Chardonnay in California, some of the oldest Pinot in California, some really beautiful Syrah that we were making that year. We also started this little project with a consultant making Cabernet from Rutherford as well.
Okay.
We were able to do like 8 tons of that. Everything was in macro bins, and most of those were harvested prior to like smoke even being an issue.
Okay.
We just, by nature of how we picked, fairly lean on the lower end of 20 bricks. We were able to make some really beautiful Chardonnay, Pinot. The Syrah we didn't make that year, unfortunately. So 21 was the first year of the Syrah there. But it was just a really shotgun of a harvest.
Yeah.
We had one intern that year. Okay. It was his first harvest. Darren Clark, who's up at Domaine Druin now, and he's had an incredible experience as his wine making career has been really incredible. But that was an insane entry into it for him. His first day there, didn't have any crush equipment, and we were harvesting Sauvignon Blanc for this Rutherford project, and handed him a 6-inch hose. He said, like, just make sure nothing flies out of this onto the ground. Just keep it in this bin. We weren't using our own equipment then, so we were just like, we have to use what we got.
Sure. Yeah.
And it didn't, like, that was basically just like, that's what all of harvest was just like, this is what we're going to do, but this is never how we're ever going to do it again.
Right. Just have to get through it.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's kind of it was a silly year because we were fortunate to be able to like go to work, and a lot of people weren't able to do that. And the fires just added an extra element of question marks for it. Aside from the winemaking element, most winery workers were evacuated. A lot of wineries themselves were closed down. A lot of them burned down. It was a very interesting year, and 2020 is always going to have like a massive asterisk next to it. And what a way to start a brand,
right?
So it was a really cool project at Haynes Vineyard. Go and I were there for almost 5 years. Nico was there for 5 years. I was there for just under 5. It was like 4.5 years. Okay. He left, and his family traveled Europe and East Coast. I left and kind of figured, well, I got a couple options. One, get out of the wine industry entirely.
Okay.
Or two, pursue my own project. And so I thought a little bit about doing another Chardonnay Pinot Syrah project and finding investors, put together a business plan, tried to figure out the logistics and the finances of all that. It was all feasible if you can sell it. Um, but then I decided to do it with my own little brand. I'd been making these Volta wines since 2019 was the first year I started making Tempranillo. That wine decided to have a little bit of Brettanomyces in the bottle, and unfortunately, that wine will never make it out. But that was at that point it was a hobby. So 2019 and 2020 were the first like years that I was really playing with wines. And so two of the wines that did make it out of 2020 were Mission from Summers Vineyard down in Acampo in Lodi. A few other producers have made wines there, Brock, I believe, and Pax.
Yeah,
Patrick
Harrington used to make a lot of wines from there.
And it's a really magical,
big old mission vines,
massive mission vines, like trees. But that was a fun area, and also just being like exposed to the Lodi wine growing region. You can drive by it and easily just completely ignore it, but it shouldn't happen. And especially in the Summers Vineyard, where you like drop down into that floodplain, is really a special little place. So 2020, I got a little bit of that Mission, and then a little bit of Maved from Dry Creek Valley. So two completely opposite ends of, I guess Dry Creek's still technically Bay Area. Like the last bit of North Bay.
Yeah, not too much left after.
Yeah, seriously. And then I just took a big break after that. So from 2020, and it worked out. The wines needed some time to resolve. And so the rosé in particular was meant to have at least a couple years of age on it, kind of going for the aged rosados of like Rioja. And it has some oak influence. Like I did not want to shy away. We could actually taste some of that too.
So from the beginning of the project, you had the sort of Spanish influenced idea in mind.
Yeah. The Spanish was, let's see. Spanish was always kind of like, and always will be constant with Volta at least. I just love the culture about, I think Europe in general, just the drinking culture there is appropriate and conducive to like a lifestyle. I like that food is always at the forefront, especially like tapas. You know, you get wine, you get a glass of wine, and it comes with food for like. So I think it's super important that wines are expressive, and I particularly like the Spanish varieties. And I can draw the lines, the parallels at least, you know, for the Albarino, for someone that wants like a Sauvignon Blanc, it's got that aromatic. For Gadeo, a little bit more body, a little more complexity. That's that Chardonnay. The Mencia, very light, very floral, but also can have a little bit of power too. That's kind of like the Pinot Noir, in my opinion. And so for communication to consumers that may not totally understand what some of these varieties are, I think it was really easy to choose some of these varietals. They're not so esoteric. Maybe some of the way that you pronounce the names are. I know I was guilty of pronouncing Gadeo as Godello for years, and it's still fun to say Godello.
You definitely taste that oak, but it's integrated well. And I was talking to somebody recently about it too, and I love rosé that has some age on it. I mean, I think that's like the number one mistake maybe with it is that it just gets drank like within a year of harvest.
Yeah.
Really like what well-made ones can become.
And it's the other side of a spectrum of rosé that is not explored a lot, because of the lighter side of things. And young rosés, they're fresh, they're vibrant, and those are so appropriate and beautiful. Having that like fresh strawberry, fresh underripe fruit is beautiful quality in wines. And I think with an aged rosé, it's just a different, not really a beast, just a different experience. As a winemaker, it was treated it differently, intentionally from the very beginning. Oxidized it heavily up front, because it's going to be spending years in wood. So it needs to stand up to that. Also have to stabilize some amount of color. I think at this point, it's definitely more of like an orange wine. But you get tannin from all of that from a rosé. And so particularly from Mataro or Mourvèdre, you're getting some really cool tannins already. And so treating the wine kind of like a red wine or like an oxidized Chardonnay, and working those tannins was something that I really wanted to explore. And it was totally an experiment. I made 1 ton of this.
Okay.
I think it wasn't a lot. Basket press, native fermentation. This has never seen any sulfur. I don't put it on the bottle. I think the only thing I don't have is that it doesn't contain sulfites. But yeah, no sulfur, no fining. I mean, it spent 4 years in barrel, so
wow,
it's very stable.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of stability that does come from the oak tannin as well, and just having the tannin there in general. I'm really happy with this wine. This is something that like came into its own once I put it into bottle.
Okay.
Coming out of the tank, it was definitely like broad and hadn't really had that concentration, right? It had spent so much time with oxygen and in contact. Putting it into bottle, immediately reduction starts popping up. And now I think it's finally come into its own, like in the last month or so. So I'm really happy with this.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good. Are you keeping barrels pretty topped off?
Sort of.
Okay.
It was, so taking a few years off of Volta, we were focused more on the Haynes wines and that Rutherford project as well. And so it was like once every few months, I'd say.
Okay.
I'd go in there and top it up with my 1 5-gallon keg.
Yeah.
The kegs maintained a lot of freshness. But yeah, it was not like, I think it worked out really well. I could have topped it a little bit more. I could have topped it less probably too. But ultimately, for the fact of like never adding sulfur to this, I'm just amazed that it didn't turn into vinegar, especially
super
with all
clean,
that no topping.
Like super clean, expressive wine.
But yeah, so Spanish varieties, they just work out well with food. I think that every meal should have a bottle of wine, maybe not breakfast. They should have a bottle. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to drink the whole bottle, but having a little glass to share with people is super important. And having wine there is going to help reinforce a memory, as benign as that memory may be. But sometimes those are the most important. Just spending time with an individual, your friend, a colleague, or even you. So like right now, I'm just happy to be sharing wine with you. So
likewise.
Yeah.
It's just like rosé. You could really kind of drink this with almost like anything, cold up to like red meat, and drink it with like a salad or something. Also, is this a style that you're going to continue kind of making?
Hopefully next year. This year I didn't make any rosés. I also didn't have the luxury of making wine as a work perk.
Mm.
I think I was fortunate to be allowed to make a little bit of my own wine while working at Haynes, and aging a rosé for 4 years in barrel is not the most financially feasible thing, especially um, now for myself.
Yeah.
Custom crush fees add up,
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I would love to experiment more with an aged rosé. Um, but I think next year is something I toyed with the idea of making a rosé with some leftover blending material from the whites and the Mencia,
Mm.
but um, I don't think I need to. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone needs more rosé just for the sake of it, and I'd much rather champion some friends rosés
Hmm.
and other brands that are making beautiful wines. I can focus on these whites and the Mencia and the Spanish varieties for now. It can get crazy as it already has. But yeah, I just was like, I don't need maybe one more SKU.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna like try and fake it like this, and it's not gonna be consistent with the actual um, ethos of how I made this rosé, then it just didn't feel authentic to do that.
Sure.
But next year I would love to, and I'm just happy with the ageability of this. So there's still around 25, 30 cases of this. So I'm in no rush. Can keep chugging away at this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, the money side of it's a lot easier to, it adds up differently when you're working with like a state that's like hundreds of years old
Yeah.
in Spain versus custom crush fees. And I mean, rosé still has kind of a ceiling
Yeah.
to it for the most part, really.
Yeah.
At least California rosé.
Absolutely. And like, I don't know, you start playing with the idea of like branding it differently, calling it something else. Like something like this could be marketed as an orange wine, but that conveys something else. And yeah, the color is maybe hinting on like that peachy orange, slightly pink. Um,
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not what I would expect if I was buying an orange wine.
right.
Like
Neither is it.
I
It's
mean,
not for a rosé either.
well, true, but it has some of that red fruit that I feel like it doesn't go into like that apricot-y kind of
Yeah.
thing so much that I would expect in maybe an orange wine. Like, I mean, it can't be the easiest thing to sell like a 3-year barrel aged rosé, but it probably does have hopefully some sort of audience looking for that more serious style of rosé.
I think so. I think finding the right people that are also excited about it, because it's an interesting wine.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fit into the rosé category. It is a rosé. But it's geeky. It's just a fun little experiment. I think people that are willing to find something new, and excited to find something new, it's a fun wine for them.
Yeah, and I think surrounded by a lineup of Spanish varieties, it fits into that well. I
Yeah.
guess like if you were doing all French grapes and then had this like kind of Spanish style long
Yeah.
aged rosé, maybe it'd be a disconnect. But
Yeah.
when you're working with these other Spanish grapes, it seems to fit in.
Yeah. Maybe especially
Well.
in the course of a meal too. If you're doing like, this could be something fun. Yeah, with anything, like you said, like a steak or a salad.
Yeah.
Even like, yeah, even like a crazy like bitter salad, I think this would be really great with. It has a lot of that sweetness.
Yeah, be a great like feels like Mexican food. Be amazing with it, mole or something like that.
Totally.
Would be really nice. But yeah, super super interesting, fun wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun too because this is fun for me because I haven't seen brands just getting going. So
Yeah.
I've seen people try. I have the Gadeo people have been exposed to, friends and family have been exposed to, the Mission, the Rose. But it is fun sharing with you and just fun to share with new people
Yeah.
because I don't have outside of like my friends and family, the audience isn't quite there. And it's something that I'm very excited for as this brand gets going, is getting out in the market, getting to know people, see how they feel about the wines, see what they want more of, see what they don't like. And I have what I want the wines to be, but they might have completely different ideas. And
Yeah.
so this is very fun.
I feel like slowly but surely you're really seeing some of these Spanish and I guess some kind of Portuguese, like Iberian varieties getting more popular. And do you think they hold up better with like climate change and hot weather? Is that anything that is like any reason to work with them for you?
Yeah, I think I haven't put so much thought into how climate change is affecting most varieties, I would say. I think California, all I can focus on really is here. I mean, I bigger picture, yeah, I would love to like drink a bottle of wine and like just like speculate how all this stuff's going to affect the world. Um, but for now, and where I'm at as a brand and as a winemaker, um, I do think these wines grow really well here. And I think Sonoma Valley and the Bay Area has such diverse microclimates.
Yeah.
I think each vintage has had some very dramatic swings in terms of like temperature, and some massive heat waves maybe aren't typical. And we've had harvests not ruined, but forced. Hands have been forced by climate change for sure. Um, it's difficult to say for these in particular because both vintages, the 24 and the 25 for the Gadeo and Albarino, were both they're great growing years.
Yeah.
Got to kind of pick when I wanted to, and fortunately, a lot of those pick days coincide with when a lot of other like-minded folks are picking, and so it helps when everyone else is kind of on the same page.
Yeah.
I do think that pick dates have gotten earlier, and I don't know if that's just the days that I'm picking with like the right people and very like-minded people
Yeah.
who are also making wines that I really enjoy. But some of these vines aren't necessarily in the place that I think they have the ability to shine. With the Mencia and Gadeo, I think that those can get much more complex and ethereal and beautiful when they're grown out on the coast. If they have a bit more of a diurnal shift in the weather. And Sonoma during the summer doesn't fully have those massive diurnal swings. At least down here on the valley, we stay nice and warm. The Mencia I got from Alta Mesa out in Lodi. Not much diurnal swing there. Those are ripening night and day. So I think the coast, if I start getting fruit from out on the coast, I think that those wines would probably change more with climate change. But where I'm sourcing the fruit from now, it's, people are making wine out in Arizona.
Yeah.
And they have their own problems. Everyone has their own problems, but they also have their own strengths. And making wine in very hot climates is, especially at a high quality, is possible. And I'm not afraid of like climate change for the grapes. I'm more concerned about the world at large. Wine will be fine. The world will have more issues before the wine has the issues. That's true of most things. So I guess yes.
Yeah.
I am worried about it, but
Yeah.
No, I
I
think
gotcha.
yeah, maybe Spanish grapes do stand up a little bit better to it, but I think Chardonnay also grows really well in hot climates.
Mm-hmm.
Pinot, we know Cabernet does. Um, I think all of these regions could do better with cooler weather, possibly with climate change. I mean, the direction it's going isn't great, but um, just good winemakers are still going to make good wine.
Yeah.
Good vineyards are still going to grow good grapes. It might not be the same pedigree as it once was in the past, but shoot, maybe it gets better too.
Yeah.
It can go either way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I've only been making wine or in the industry for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready to learn at the end of the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even speak to it yeah, as I'm speaking to it. Yeah. Or this Gadeo here.
So you've been doing some farming of vineyards also, right?
Yeah, so yeah, around 2020 was when I wanted to at that after leaving Costa Brown and starting at Haynes, farming was something that I really wanted to do. Just to be outside, just to be in nature. And there was a lot that I needed to do. I needed to learn. I was hungry for it. And so at Haynes, starting in the summertime, we didn't really have much. We were kind of just gearing up for harvest at that point. And then in the winter, we started to do some pruning. Was able to work on a compost protocol and really just kind of like dove in to cover cropping, compost, pruning styles, and working with Nico. He had a lot of experience, at least in pruning and vineyard, and he, as a winemaker, was more involved in how grapes were being farmed,
Okay.
which I think is really important for a winemaker. And having that knowledge, you know, you can read a book and you can have that knowledge, but actually being out there and implementing it and understanding like how long it takes to prune one vine multiplied for acres, how many people you need, and like trying to actually draw out a plan for farming was super important. I could get the practice and experiment with pruning and different cuts all I wanted to, but having a team there, I had Nico to rely on a lot, but we also had some incredible viticulturists that were working for the company that were also very open to helping us. Will Thomas, who was there at the beginning, and then Macy Stubbs' dad, who still there. But they were both extremely helpful and open books when it came to explaining, coordinating with different farm labor contractors and all the decisions that we were ultimately coming to in the vineyard. And it was nice to be heard in a lot of those situations too, where, you know, after 2 years, I don't really know what I'm doing. I have some ideas, and I think it was nice to have coworkers and peers that were also open to hearing my perspective, and implementing it and seeing how it works. And it's an amazing thing. And you know, I put in a lot of effort to figuring things out, but that doesn't guarantee actual plans and things happening in the vineyard. So that was incredible experience to have that at scale, I would say. And then this little plot that we're at here, I call it El Conejo en la Luna, the rabbit on the moon. It's we're right. The Moon Mountain AVA runs like right through the property. and we're technically, this vineyard's just on the outside of it, so it's Sonoma Valley.
Okay.
So it's kind of just like a little tongue in cheek, like we're right there.
Yeah.
There is no real, aside from the climate here, though, there's no real moon mountain soil profiles in this vineyard as it stands. So it's just kind of a silly thing. But this family I got connected with, and they wanted to plant a vineyard. They wanted to work with a young winemaker. So this is in 2021 to help them figure out rootstock, varieties, kind of devise a plan for the space. And they had, they'd done soil profiles. They'd done a full geological report here. And the land was fallow and had maybe been host to a number of different, like, what do you say, grazing, I'd say.
Okay.
I've talked to a number of neighbors here that were like, oh yeah, we used to keep all our horses here. And so I'll pull up a little, every now and then, if I'm doing like a spade down there, I'll pull up a horseshoe.
Yeah.
But we're at the bottom here of Cavedale, and so a lot of neighbors would park their horses here. But so yeah, they wanted someone to plant this vineyard with. I thought Grenache was going to do really well. I of course wanted a place to put Mencia in the ground. But at the very beginning of the relationship with them, I didn't want to leave them with an acre of Mencia if things didn't work out. And I think ultimately the Mencia is doing great here. But I am very happy that we did mostly Grenache, and then I was able to save some Baga vines. That Portuguese, kind of the Portuguese equivalent to like Pinot Noir is what I would like to do. So I have the Spanish equivalent to the Pinot Noir and then the Portuguese. But the Baga does really well here. And I didn't want to have a bunch of metal in the ground. So it's all wood stakes, head trained. I probably could have allowed a little bit more space just in case I wanted to have a tractor, but I haven't had a tractor here. Been crimping everything.
Okay.
So everything here has been intentionally farmed regeneratively. I'm taking kind of like principles from regenerative, biodynamic, and organic, whether that be a financial decision or purely just what I think is good for the earth. And the soil here is heavy in clay, especially after we ripped it to plant the vineyard. And so just restoring that layer of humus was crucial. The only thing I've ever sprayed in here is sulfur, just like the regular old wettable sulfur. There is a little bit of mildew pressure here, so trying to stay on top of that with couple early sprays, but I think I only had 3 sprays last year and had no mildew pressure at all. That was what the year allowed. Hopefully the following years will allow that. But the biggest issue I had here was deer. And so we put in another fence kind of blocking the backside of Cavedale, sprawling mountainside up there. The animals do well here, and it's been nice to have such a light touch as far as soil management. I see so many snakes in this vineyard. King snakes, gopher snakes, gardener snakes. Every now and then there's like one rattlesnake a year. But they're doing a lot of good work, especially since there's no tilling happening here. I'll do a single hoe down by the vine just to kind of terminate surface roots. If I can, if the year allows it, especially now that the vineyard's getting established. I've been cutting back a lot on irrigations. Yeah, it's everything's on 110R, so it's supposed to be dry farmed someday. But I can't commit to that yet. I don't want the vines to die.
Right.
But I love the idea of dry farming. I love the idea of maintaining greenness well into the summer if
Mm-hmm.
it can allow for it, whether that be like underneath crimped piles. Um, but the crimping has been, everything's done by hand here. There's no tractor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and thanks to my close rows, I would have to find a very special, small, I think it's like the Lamborghini tractor. Um, but it would, yeah, it would take a lot more farming here and selling a lot more bottles of wine from this place.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of handwork.
Yeah, exactly. So this spot's been what I started with in 21. Just got the first fruit last year. I made a full, what is it, 30 gallons in total of that wine. So,
Okay.
um, and it's got a lot of tannin to resolve as well. So I think that'll have a couple years before I'm able to release that first year. I also took over this tiny little Syrah vineyard in on the west side of town on Orange Avenue
Mm.
behind Valley Swim Club.
Okay.
Like literally, if you were sitting in the back of Swim Club, there's a big open field, and then there's another house on the other side. And there's a tiny little Syrah vineyard back there, um, kind of for another little element of the next, like a shift in the Volta winemaking. Like I said before, the original plan I drew up was for Chardonnay, Pinot,
Mm-hmm.
and Syrah, and I hadn't thought about doing that at all this harvest, but got some access to this Syrah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a cool little vineyard, planted in 2007.
Okay.
Perfect timing
Yeah.
for that 2008. So it's an old vineyard, it's
Yeah.
established. Bilateral cordon. Also been farmed organically, but
Okay.
the new owners didn't really know what to do with it, and so I took over this year. The old owner had
Nice.
been making the wine for some time.
Okay.
And then the other vineyard right now that I'm splitting, just starting to farm with Tom Sherwood in Napa Carneros, is I think it's this old Sinsky development project.
Mm. Okay.
Old vine Pinot, a little bit of Nebbiolo out there. We'll try to get another Italian variety in the ground,
Yeah.
Grignolino, and we're just doing some maintenance there, taking a lot of it back to cane, and it's completely dry farmed. There's no irrigation in the ground, but that's been really fun. I think working with Tom and bouncing ideas off with him in the vineyard and putting them out there has been great.
Mm.
I pruned with him a little bit last year too in the Manly vineyard. Yeah, just really getting out there. Like now, I think having this property here on Cavedale, the Syrah vineyard, and then that spot in Carneros, I'm kind of maxed out
Okay. Yeah.
for what I can accomplish on my own.
Sure.
I think if I were to start farming anymore, it'd be nice. I'd start getting some more hands.
Yeah.
But I can pay. Not just people that want to be out in the vineyard, as fun and helpful as that is. But I would like to get some more. But this is maxed out, and I'm very happy. And the fruit sourcing that I have right now, the farmers that are taking care of that are doing an incredible job. And so I'm very happy with the quality of the fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Like this Gadeo is coming from just
Yeah.
right down the road. Yeah. So if you were to take this this creek right here, right now we're in Hooker Canyon on Cavedale Road. This creek that runs alongside here is called Hooker Creek. It runs all the way to the Sonoma Creek. And so if you were to walk in the creek, this would also go right by where this Gadeo is planted.
Okay.
Also farmed organically, and I think regenerative too. We'll have to figure that out soon. Get to the bottom of that.
What was the grower's idea of putting Gadeo in? Only because you don't see it everywhere.
Yeah, you don't. I think they'd played a little bit with. There's another vineyard in Glen Ellen that has Gadeo, and it's called Birdlands. Cave Dog was making that wine for a little bit, and before they left the country, they went to Spain. They left the country, moved to Spain, and they're like, let's go make this wine there. I think this grower, they're constantly trying to push the envelope, see what else can thrive in places. And so they had this Gadeo, Albarino, and Vermentino put in, I think it was 2018. I'll have to look and see when they grafted that. I love it. I think that the section that it's growing in is it's the heart of Sonoma Valley. It's right before it meets the Sonoma Creek, so it's kind of a low point in the valley itself, right on the border of Glen Ellen as well. But aromatic whites do really well down there too. They've got a lot of Sauvignon Blanc over there. I think people just like expressive white wines. I love them.
Yeah.
I love when they're able to develop some of those oxidative tertiary notes while still maintain some of that vibrant, fresh fruit and floral elements. Not the craziest fan of like tropical.
Okay.
But if it holds on to it, then it'll last. It'll last some time in bottle too. So as long as it ages well, it's kind of how I think about it. And those particularly like primary tropical fruits, like if they'll age, I'm happy with it. But typically those, in my experience, tend to oxidize and get a little nutty and matterize too early.
This is a really beautiful wine also.
Thank you. It is an interesting one though, because it's not grown too many places.
Yeah.
I think the Miramar family out in Sebastopol, they have a little bit of this.
Okay.
Which I would love to get my hands on at some point too. Just have a little bit of that different soil type exposure with this grape would be beautiful. I mean, it's very clay heavy as it stands now where I'm getting this from. Having access to something in that like Gold Ridge, sandy loam, it'd just be fun to play with.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to maybe become like the Gadeo producer and like have like some different terroir elements. Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice. Maybe not become the producer, but just to have someone where you can like do a side by side and like see like, oh, this is what this does here and this is what this does here. Instead of just this is what this producer makes. This is their Gadeo. So
yeah,
it's definitely a variety that I would like to expand on if vineyards allow it. I think it'd be nice to see some more of this in the ground. I'd love to put some here, but I don't think it would be too different from down the road.
From just down the creek. Yeah, I know there's some out in like Lodi has some, but yeah, the only producer with 4 single vineyard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it is funny. It's like you could put a single vineyard on it, but you could also probably narrow down which one it is based on the variety. For most of these, maybe not the Albarino, but the Palomino, Gadeo, Mencia. It's literally a handful.
Yeah, it's nice that it's kind of cool to put in the work to kind of sleuth some of these down, though, because they're not grapes that are grown everywhere. I mean, Palomino, Gadeo, like most probably wouldn't be able to name like 3 places that they're grown necessarily in.
Yeah.
Northern California.
So
to be able to track some vineyards down that have the grapes growing, and they're really happy with the expressions.
Yeah.
Great.
It was it took a lot of internet sleuthing for sure to find some of these places. And funny enough, like most of the way I found these places was just someone called me and was like, "Hey, I heard you were looking for this. Like,
you should the grapevine,
yes,
so to speak."
Legitimately, yeah, through the grapevine. The Palomino, that's how that happened.
Okay.
I think Mencia may have seen on Wine Business. You know, there's only
Yeah.
so many times you can go on Wine Business looking for that certain variety. Um, I also know there's some Mencia grown out on the Sonoma coast too.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if it's still on the ground, but I think the
Oh,
Dumal was
okay.
growing it. I don't know how much of it they make, but that'd be fun to play with too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is Tempranillo something you're going to
I think so.
revisit?
That was the first one that I did,
Yeah.
and I loved it. Like the wine that I put into bottle before I had those blooms
Mm-hmm.
um, was beautiful, and I was really happy. It was pretty. It was floral, elegant. Had a really nice like tannic profile. Um, but that was the first wine that I made, and I think I learned a lot from it, and I was excited to try my hand at it again the next year. Um, a little discouraging to have something like that happen in bottle, and
Yeah.
yeah, I still got like a handful of bottles that I'll like see what happens with them, but um, I think down the line, I think it's always in the back of my mind. That was kind of like the original. That was the original inspiration was
Okay.
Tempranillo. Looked at Carignan too.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think there's some really fun opportunity. It depends. Like as you look at that region in Spain, if you're working your way from the coast towards Rioja, I mean, even or Ribera del Duero, like it makes sense to that event for that to eventually make its way into my lineup. I do like the coastal stuff a lot more right now.
Mm.
But I think you tried the Sangre pero no sangre, that Alicante Bouchette.
Mm-hmm.
That's also coming from that same vineyard. So I might play a little bit with that in the
Okay.
future in term with Mencia blending,
Mm.
and then also possibly like a single varietal as well. And I think that could also fill that nice full-bodied red.
Yeah.
Um, but we'll see. I mean, there's not too much Tempranillo that I find particularly inspiring grown out here in
Okay.
Sonoma and Napa. I would love to get back to the foothills
Mm.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's where I made it the first time, and I think the fruit grows really well out there. Um,
Yeah.
Tempranillo is also a grape that will dump acid like
Mm-hmm.
before you even get a chance to pick it.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, when I made that wine, I was afraid to pick anything below 23.5 bricks. And now, like, I'm not afraid of 19 bricks.
Yeah.
None of these wines that I've made have been there, but um,
When it's ready, it's ready.
when it's ready, it's ready. And, managing acids is super important. I don't want the wine to tear the enamel off your teeth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but with something like Tempranillo, it's such a temperamental grape. Pinot Noir is also very thin-skinned, just like the Tempranillo, and it should be treated that way. And so I think that there's like a really special part in that winemaking of trying to coax some strength out of something that doesn't look like it
Mm.
at to the naked eye, a thin-skinned grape, and making it into something really deep and
Mm-hmm.
really intense is beautiful.
How much do you want to sort of follow like Spanish practices when you're making the wines in California? Like, I guess like the Tempranillo, for example. Like, do you want American oak, long aged?
I do, yes. I think particularly to like, well, that's how I did it the first time,
Okay.
and I love. There's a reason that they do that, and I think if the wine that I were to produce is for any of these really. Um, if the wine asks for that, then the tools are there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have some American oak still because of that, and so I have the ability to do that. And I have the American oak that I like because it's been used a lot now at this point. It's not lending any vanillin, any of those spicy notes, but it still has the grain tightness, that O2 transmission, which is super important for the wood. American oak is great for what it does. Like I think people do like sweetness. They do like pleasure. They do like what American oak lends to it. Yeah, and if it's 19, if I pick it at 19 bricks, and it has a TA of like 10, maybe a little bit of vanilla will help round some of that out. But no, I think that would take another go. Like if I were to go and try my hand at it again, then I'd have to see after a year where it's at. If it's resolved, if it needs to be bottled right away. And even Rioja, they know like not every year is going to warrant a Reserva or a Grand Reserva. Like sometimes it's just all Crianza, and that's just what the year is. I appreciate the honesty that they have in the Rioja. They're like, this was not a good year. We have nothing here. And I'm like, that was such a fun experience to actually be there and be like, oh, like you guys don't really mind being honest. And it's amazing. Like the wines that you taste because of that reason are delicious, and the Crianzas are insanely affordable and also delicious. Like there's like, you go there and you're just like, oh, this wine didn't make the cut because this would be probably Reserva back home in California. So yeah, maybe I'll try my hand at it again. I do like Tempranillo. I do know it's hard to get anyone to grab a bottle of Tempranillo, just because I personally don't do it.
Yeah.
There's so many options out there, and it might be difficult. It's going to be an uphill battle for these too. So I'll have to figure out how I can get people to grab these bottles. Grab a Palomino, grab a Gadeo, grab a Mencia, one that no one knows what that is. And hopefully these fun names make it a little bit easier, but we'll see.
Yeah. Gadeo is really beautiful, though. Really nice wine.
Appreciate that. This Mencia is a sample right now. This is what I'm gearing up to bottle in February. Same with that Palomino, but 100% whole cluster, coming out of Alta Mesa, the Mingo Vineyard out there. I don't know too many other folks that it made wine. I know it's been around. I know people have made wine from this. It was one of the first. I think it was the first Mencia vineyard that they planted. In California, at least that was registered. It's coming on year 10, maybe 11. Established. But yeah, 100% whole cluster.
Is whole cluster commonly done with Mencia in Spain? Or I was just curious. I don't actually know.
I don't know either. There was, I love to have that tannic element for all my reds. The day of, we didn't have a destemmer running. So plan was to do a little bit less whole cluster, but the fruit came in hot and it was ready to get going. And so I was just like, you know what? Let's do it. 100% whole cluster.
I'm a fan of whole cluster in general.
It
tastes really good to me. And
I've never had something that's like overtly Pirazini, and maybe that's just my luck with whole cluster in terms of like how we make it and how I make it. But I've never been like shy to do it. Like even with our Cabernet for that Rutherford project, we were pushing 50%, 75% whole cluster.
Really?
Yeah, and picking at 22, 23 bricks, and not necessarily the most common thing. In Napa. Or anywhere.
Probably
for
putting
that
it lightly, but I mean, with your experience making, like what we're getting at Pinot facilities, tasted a lot of whole cluster ferments and wines, I'm sure.
It's just never been something that like I've had. I think there's a lot of like hesitance from winemakers that are worried that it's going to lend too much uh, to the phenolics and maybe a stewiness.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if I'm, yeah, I really don't know. Like, I think it does get weird when you play with it in certain percentages, which I don't understand how that happens. You can possibly have more exposure to like VA
Mm.
growing in the cap if there's
Hmm.
too many pockets, for oxygen to sit and for bacteria and acetobacter to kind of proliferate. Um, it always adds a nice like pop.
Mm.
You get a
Hmm.
little bit of a carbonic thing.
Yeah.
You get that bright red fruit, and I think it's a nice balance if you do get a little bit of that like pepperiness from it too. Just makes it a fun little aromatic wine.
Yeah. I always tend to get something that makes me just want to keep kind of going back to the wine
Yeah.
also at the back end of it. Makes you just kind of keep wanting to go back to it and drink it
Yeah.
more. So
How do you feel about bitterness in wine?
I'm okay with a little bit of it.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes with whole cluster that is what I get that kind of keeps me going back a
Yeah.
little bit, but I like it in that sort of complex way, that thing that it adds. So I don't mind it within reason,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's kind of like, that is the one thing that in my, particularly this harvest, like you're balancing sometimes extreme bitterness,
Mm,
with tannin
yeah.
and
I think like Mission has that kind of thing also like just naturally
yep.
in the grape. It kind of has that sort of like Amaro orange liqueur, like
Yeah.
crow
Like
kind
slightly
of kind of
medicinal. Yeah.
thing a little bit going on just naturally, almost like no matter how it's made,
Yeah.
it's just in the grape that it has a little kind of bitterness
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. And that's one of, I mean, especially in red wines when they have that like sweetness, it's nice to have that bitterness, but it's tough. And it's been an interesting thing. I don't know how you feel about this, Mencia, but I was very pleasantly surprised that it had like, for something that's 100% whole cluster, um, there's like
The color of it, or
the
is that
color
what you
of it,
said?
and also
Or
just like the it's not even bitter. Like I don't like the tannins aren't
oh no,
extreme at
yeah.
all, and
I mean, it's young too, and
mhm.
that will continue to, as it ages, that all comes together.
But
4 or 5 months old
yeah,
at this point, you know.
for having my hand forced a little bit. But yeah, I'm excited for this wine.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little lighter. Like it's lighter on the palate than it is in the glass.
Mhm. Yeah, the other, I mean, I guess the other element of this is like when you do something with that much whole cluster and you kind of start to push towards two different fermentations with
Hmm.
that carbonic element.
Hmm.
And so, um,
Just as far as like extending the fermentation
yeah,
out kind of.
yeah, and you can either extend it or pull it apart. And
Hmm.
so after about 8 days, this was dry,
Mm.
at least the free run juice.
Yeah.
So you pull that, and then I load the rest into a press. And so after pressing out, it comes out to like 8 bricks again.
Yeah.
Um, and the wine, I mean, it's been interesting. It's because that press wine, you still have so much color coming from it too, because you're squeezing the tannins from the actual skins themselves. But that's where all the alcohol comes from and a little bit more of that pleasure. And so it was very fun to like put back together again because it's
Yeah.
like you pull it all the way apart and you're just like, all right, these pieces are different. Everything's in punch ins too, and
Mm.
228's kind of like a nice little mix. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
fun playing with those larger vessels too.
Did you finish the fermentation in tank after you pressed it, and then did you
No, the
combine
vessels.
it right
So the
away, or do you
vessels are
keep
still
everything
separate.
Separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have the majority of the free run is in a couple punch-ins, and then a 60-gallon barrel, and then the press wine is in one punch-in, and another 60-gallon barrel.
Okay.
So a significant amount, and there's some fun. This is everything. Like I put it all up, and I was like, this is great. Like I'm happy with it. Lucky for that one, at least for this, that I was able to put them all together. But yeah, it's just a really fun wine. I think this is going to be a nice, like you said, the color is dark, but it's light on its feet.
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a fun one for the Pinot Noir drinker. It should be a daily drinker. This Mencia, the Palomino, it'll come out at $28 a bottle. Okay. So it should be like a very approachable. I want those wines out there. And so I want people to get to know them and have fun with them.
Yeah. You can give any information about where people can kind of find the wines and what's out now or what's coming out soon?
Of course. Yeah. So everything is available on voltawines.com. And by everything, I mean my current release. So the 2020 Rosé, 2020 Mission, the 2024 Albarino, and the 24 Gadeo as well. With that, I also made the Nouveau wine, Sangre Pero No Sangre. That's Alicante Bouchette. That was direct press, and it looks like a red wine. It's made as a rosé, but it's a red wine. That's also available as kind of like the Nouveau, California Nouveau wine. The following release, which should be available come March, will kind of be the future of Volta. So Palomino, Gadeo, Albarino, and Mencia. Those should all be available at that point as well on voltawines.com. About to start distribution. Right now I'm just self-distributed, but I got some wine to move, so I need some help. Yeah, for right now it's just DTC, so it's just me, and then I'll post updates on my Instagram too. So just Volta Wines on Instagram. And that's it.
Cool. Anything we missed or anything that you want to talk about? Anything that we like?
No, I think just like really, I'd love to shout out some people that have been helping me. Scott and Jenny at Jolie Lade. They're very helpful and accommodating. And I mean, those wines are incredible as well. And they've been super accommodating. Bobby and Jama at Joseph Jabril. Some other Costa Brown alumni that started their brand. They're making really incredible, clean wines. Kind of checking all the other bases on the French spectrum. Chardonnay, Pinot. They do some Val de Guy. Beautiful rosés. That's the rosé. If you want to get Volta Rosé, go get Joseph Jabril. But they're doing really incredible things. Tom at BXT. I mean, buy those bottles now. They're like, for the price that you can get access to them, it's going to be hard to find anything better than that. He's doing incredible work in all his vineyards. Incredible thought and care in the cellar, and he's only getting better. So go ahead and support those. And then Jamie Motley Wines. They're down in Cambria now with producing wines out of Phelan Farms, and they're doing a great job. You should, next time you're down that way, try to link up with them. But they're crushing it.
All amazing producers. Good group of folks.
Yeah. And then I got my pigs here. I got Thelma and Louise. I got my little farm here. And I mean, aside from like just doing no-till stuff, I've got my little 2-pig herd.
Eating away right behind us.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a young brand. Any small purchase helps me, and that goes for everyone right now. So drink more wine, bring it where you don't think it is typically drunk, share it with people. Doesn't have to be my wine. just has to be someone's wine. Support small growers, support small winemakers, and drink thoughtfully. Don't forget to smile.
Thanks for listening today. Volta is an exciting new project from Ben. The wines all have great balance and texture, bright acidities, and from varieties you don't get to taste every day. You can find the wines at voltawines.com or Volta Wines on Instagram. And please follow the podcast on wherever you're listening and the Instagram at Indie Wine Podcast. You can also email indiewinepodcast@gmail.com or Instagram with comments, questions, or feedback. If you're enjoying the podcast, I'd love it if you told a friend or wine lover about it and help spread the word more. Rating, reviewing, or donating at patreon.com/indiewinepodcast helps a lot too. It all goes to offsetting podcast expenses, keeps it ad-free, available for everyone, allows for more episodes, and helps support independent artists. We'll be back soon with another episode. Have a good one.